Let me just say, this is an abject disaster. Abject disaster for the President of the United States. You mentioned it, Jessica. Look, voters on Trump and inflation. He won the 2024 election because he was more entrusted on inflation than Kamala Harris was, led by a margin of 9 points. Look at where his net approval stands today, though, on inflation. My goodness gracious. Into the gutter we go, underwater we go. He's 25 points underwater, my goodness gracious. That is where the Little Mermaid is, and he is matching the Little Mermaid. That's how far underwater he is. Republicans in Congress think that they can escape the wrath of the voters when it comes to inflation. I have a bit of a rude awakening for them. Trust which party more on inflation? You go back to the 2022 midterms, look at this. Republicans led by 13 points on which party was more trusted in inflation. Look at where we are now, nearly a 15-point shift in the Democrats' direction. It's within the margin of error, but the Democrats up by a point. This just looks totally different from where we were back in 2022 when, of course, Republicans took back the House. That's what Democrats are trying to do this time around, looking much better for them.
See, that's why I get my analysis from him. Steve Kornacki never talks about mermaids. But anyway, it's a good comparison of the numbers that you can turn around on the topic of inflation so much in a short period of time. At the same time, though, the Democrats are up 1 point. Donald Trump is willingly raising prices. Like, that is his strategy is. You know all that stuff we buy from around the world? That is at least 10% more, if not 20, 30, 50, 135% more. His strategy is to raise prices, and America is like, yeah, but I feel like the Democrats did too. And yeah, there was inflation under Biden, but it wasn't because he willingly jacked it up. Again, so that's a little bit frustrating, but regardless, this isn't good. This doesn't seem like a great strategy going into the midterms, Brett. What do you think?
Inflation before was because of a pandemic, a global pandemic. Inflation now is because of a horrible president. That's the answer. I mean, and that's it. And in both scenarios, Trump was responsible. Trump mishandled the pandemic. When we're talking about like the reason that, and the Democrats were in charge in the wake of Trump mishandling it, and relative to other countries on the globe, we did so much better economically. You can't deny that. So the other thing is though, there's in this time of, like, the Republicans are benefiting in a time of realignment, right? There's a lot of turbulence. It's not as cut and dry what party you would vote for as it was, say, like in the Clinton era and before. And Trump is benefiting from that. Like, there is still this conception that even though the Democrats are now part of the Uniparty and they are, you know, the NAFTA people and they're neo-libs who really are just investment bankers in disguise, somehow the Republicans still have the base level reputation for being good at economy, right? Even though the Democrats are just like the Republicans, people perceive the Republicans to be better at the economy. And that is just legacy party identity stuff. And add to that, Trump default like, oh, Trump is a business guy as far as I remember from all the fictional movies he was good at business in. Like, that's it. Yeah. And that's what you're seeing, and people aren't hot on anything right now, and it's tough when you get the job. A lot of people are like, you must suck at the job because I don't like what's happening, and you're the person doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like there is a world in which he miraculously gets back into power, and then at least public facing, it seems like he's being responsible. But they have moved so, like 24/7 as fast as they can in the exact opposite direction. He's filled his administration with Fox News hosts. He is willingly engaging in a massive trade war because of economic principles that he doesn't understand. I don't understand. There's a lot I don't understand. Can I show you a chart that I don't understand? Part of it makes sense. Here's a chart. Do Americans expect higher, lower, or similar inflation? Okay, so the red bar being high means that at that point, people thought that inflation was gonna go up. And so you can see it's pretty high from 2022 on to like July, August of 2024. So during this entire period, most of the Biden administration, everybody's like, I expect that inflation's bad, it's gonna go up. In the months leading up to the election, it's going down, which either represents that people think things are getting better, which the inflation rate was going down, so that would make sense. Or they're now thinking that Trump is gonna win, so inflation would go down. But either way, on election day, far fewer people seemed as pessimistic about inflation, and yet they still put Trump in charge. And then, oopsie doopsie, he's really bad for the economy. Fears over higher inflation immediately jump up once again. And so again, like it's hard, there's multiple things that could be affecting and everything, but like people do think things are getting worse. You can see in this other chart, is the US economy getting better or worse? There are some people who think that it's getting better. I'm sure some Republicans huffing that copium, which by the way, stock up on copium as much as you can because soon the tariffs are really gonna raise the price of that. But that's what you've got. And none of this looks good. As our producer had pointed out, we don't have to bring up graphic 4 necessarily, but when the Democrats in the midterms under the first term of Trump got the blue wave, inflation was 2.4%. It's already 15% higher than that. And we're now seeing reason to believe that it's gonna go up even more, and willingly, and when people were already really frustrated about that and have been for years. And so this just seems like a terrible strategy. And so far, the Republican response to it, like, yeah, okay, maybe I wrecked your family's finances, but those Democrats really don't seem to appreciate Sydney Sweeney's boobs enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if that works. Maybe. What do you think, Pratt?
Anytime there's a culture war in the zeitgeist, you as a consumer of media need to treat that as though someone bumped into you on the subway so that they could pick your pocket. And you need to put your hands over your pocketbook immediately because they are just distracting you.
Metaphor.
From something else that happened that is horrible. So Sydney Sweeney's boobs, I mean, I think we did that, by the way. They're leaning into it, by the way, morons. But like Sydney Sweeney's boobs, which are gorgeous, and anything else that has to do with like a culture where you need to check your pockets. Now, here's another way that we've been fooled. Like Trump saying that tariffs are an answer. If your main concern is the price of stuff, then that's not the answer. Like tariffs are never the answer for lowering the price of stuff unless you have like a really great negotiator who gets to eliminate them. Now that's just prices, because what tariffs can do is raise the income of people here, right? They make it so that jobs come back and you get paid more and you actually have a job as opposed to no job. That's the thing. The problem here is that this is not actually how the economy does work. All you need to look at is corporate profits to realize that that is another distraction when they're talking about tariffs and bringing jobs back and all that stuff. They're bumping into you because meanwhile, the corporate structure, the way that capitalism works now, especially in an unregulated environment, they're just keeping the margins high when they don't need to be that high, i.e. the rich executives are getting wildly richer, literally at your expense. Yeah. And so instead of attacking tariff policy and wage policy, you need to start attacking the way that the capitalist vultures are stealing the margins and putting them in your pocket, and then complaining that it's actually the tariffs' fault.
Yeah.
It's their fault. They could just pay themselves less and charge you less and still be richer than anyone has ever been in the history of the world.
Yeah. I'm sure there will be stuff like this, but I'll end on saying, like, a lot of people's frustrations with Biden was that while inflation was going down, he didn't do enough fast enough policy-wise, but then also like he just didn't communicate well enough. Like he didn't get people to believe that he understood the pain they were experiencing. Donald Trump goes and says, like, straight to your face, the inflation's a perfect number. It's barely anything. That is so much worse than Joe Biden just not expressing enough empathy. He's lying to your face and it's on tape. You can take that. It's barely anything, and then show somebody like beef is at an all-time high. It's barely anything. Worst wholesaler price increase in 3 years. It's barely anything. And you can fill a full political ad full of that and remind people that he isn't just causing the problem, he's gaslighting you about it at the exact same time.